Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time talking episode 12 of season 3 of Arrow called Uprising. And again, this is another really nice episode of Arrow. Lots of really cool moments. And basically we can kind of call this episode The Secret Origin of Malcolm Merlyn. Now if you're not familiar with the comics, what DC used to do a lot back in the old days was they had a lot of anthology books, or they would have, a character's regular book, and then at the back there would be like 8 pages where they would sort of recap the origins of other characters that the reader might not be familiar with, in the hopes of hooking them on that character's comics, or at least just sort of giving them a clue as to who a character they might not be familiar with was. And those stories were always called The Secret Origin of blah blah blah. And I got to give it up to John Barrowman and, of course, the hair and makeup people here. The past Malcolm and present Malcolm really do look like notably different guys. I don't know why, but past Malcolm, for some reason, his face just seems to look a lot longer. My only real problem with learning more details about Malcolm's past is this seems really at odds with the Malcolm we were presented with in season 1. Here Malcolm kind of makes it like, look, I was really just trying to do what I thought was good for the city. What was good for the Glades. It was like, bullshit. Were you not paying attention in season 1? Malcolm Merlyn wanted to kill everybody in the Glades because he thought just basically by virtue of living in the Glades, you were human scum who didn't deserve to live. He wasn't trying to help anybody. Malcolm Merlyn in season 1 was just lashing out in blind anger at a target he had selected to blame for the death of his wife, and to assuage his own guilt at having ignored what turned out to be her final phone call to him. I mean, really, it just really feels like revisionist history here, especially Malcolm's interaction there with Tommy. But drama, right? And also, if you're going to have Malcolm be a regular on the show, it's a lot harder to keep people willing to consider, that he's changed if you focus entirely on how he was in season 1. Now, me personally, I think this is Malcolm just sort of reinventing the past to serve his own present ends. He might genuinely believe that was his motive at the time, but that's only because that's how he's rewritten his own personal history book. But we have those lovely DVDs, so we can go back and see what we're talking about with season 1 Malcolm. But it was definitely cool to see him gain his nickname from the League, from Nissa Al Ghul, because you have to imagine, her growing up in the League of Assassins, nobody ever's done there's a coin behind your ear trick to her. So that was cute, and it was also sort of nice to see Tommy again, albeit as a child. And of course, Kid Oliver, that was pretty cool as well. Now, in the present day, of course, this also sort of leads to the big schism in Team Arrow of, do we accept Malcolm Merlyn's help? And of course, ultimately comes down to Felicity and Dig say no, and Roy says yes. And then both of them are kind of pissed off at Roy because he's willing to make a deal with Malcolm. Now, this strikes me as being a little bit BS. They're sort of like, Roy, do you really understand the implications of what we're doing here? It's like, Dig, Felicity, now that Oliver's out of the picture, the person who was closest to Thea here in the Arrow Cave is Roy. Roy cares more about Thea than you two do. Okay, that's a given. So if he's willing to do this, yeah, I have the feeling he hasn't friggin' forgot about what Malcolm did to Thea. But he's thinking of the greater picture here. Now, of course, Dig and Felicity do have a good point that, cutting a deal with Malcolm Merlyn is, that's a serious deal with the devil. But, when Felicity goes off on Oliver after he comes back, well, yeah, she has reason to be angry about him willing to work with Malcolm. But here's the thing. She has no other solution as to how they're going to defeat Ra's al Ghul. If Oliver doesn't do this, Ra's al Ghul and the League of Assassins show up, and everybody Oliver cares about, which almost certainly includes Dig and Felicity and probably Roy as well, and certainly Thea, they're all dead. So again, Miss Felicity Smoke, what the hell other option does Oliver have? But, that aside, that speech she gives to Oliver is like, I don't want to be a woman that you would love. Ooh. Whoa. Oh. Man, F getting stabbed by Ra's al Ghul, getting stabbed by Felicity Smoke right through the heart. Now that'll goddamn kill you. Ooh. Oh, man. And then we also see that nice moment where Felicity kind of seems to reconsiders helping Ray. And it's sort of, in a way, Ray is what Felicity seems to want Oliver to be. This shiny, available, clean person. The sort of person who would never compromise with someone like Malcolm Merlyn for any reason. But let's keep in mind, Ray doesn't know. Ray is not someone Felicity knows as well as Oliver. She only sort of thinks she knows Ray. There's obviously more to Ray going on than what we've seen. So I think Felicity is really underestimating just sort of what kind of compromises Ray might have made to get where he is now, and what he might be willing to do in the future. But, when you're out there in the dark, anywhere that looks brighter is a place to sail to, right? That's probably not a very good expression or simile or metaphor or whatever, but I think you guys get what I'm driving at. Anyway, I definitely love that scene between Roy and Lance where Lance is like, Harper, I know it's you, and Roy's like, crap. So, I mean, okay, at this point I'm just like, no way in hell does Lance has not figured out who Oliver is. I mean, apparently, like, the Arrow and his friends always kind of want to meet in the alley behind the Verdant Club. It's kind of amazing that this is an alley behind a nightclub, and there's never, like, drunk 23-year-olds out there puking or engaging in public acts of, public lewdness. I mean, this has got to be, like, the most uninteresting alley in all of Starling City for some unfathomable reason. Of course, while I'm certain Quentin probably has a pretty good guess as to who the vigilante really is, just the idea that he can't tell his two daughters apart from a distance. I mean, Katie Lotz and crap, I forgot. I'm blanking on her name. Laurel. Yeah. Again, folks, remember, I'm terrible with actors' names. Have obviously very different body types. So, I mean, it's pretty hard to mistake them from a distance from each other. Even if, Laurel's wearing a wig. But, again, Clark Kent was able to hide being Superman with a pair of glasses, a slouch, and a cheap suit. So, comic books, right? And let me see, what else do I want to talk about this episode? I liked how Danny Brickwell did refer to it as Star City. That was a nice touch. And once again, it continues to the idea that for some unfathomable reason, the National Guard would not be called in on this situation. I mean, again, we've talked about why that is, but still, this is just like, oh god, this is such bullshit. The military and the feds would be all over this guy. But okay, whatever. It leads into the big brawl in the Glades, which, again, is another page taken out of the No Man's Land story from the Batman comics. And it did give us another reason to see Sin and Wildcat again. Now, I can remember the guest stars. I can't remember the name of the actress who's been on the show since day one. Jeez. All right, so T.J. Cruz, who is Wildcat, he is confirmed that he got cast on another show. So this is probably the last hurrah for Wildcat for a while. So still, he went toe to toe with Brick and put up a good fight, and they can easily write off him recovering from the beating that Brick gave him as to why we're not going to be seeing him again for a while, if ever. But I have the feeling that he might pop up again. Now we have Bex Taylor, who plays Sin once again, turning up. She too has been cast, from what I've heard, it's on the Scream show on MTV, and I saw her the other week on The Librarian. So her career is picking up. it is sort of a shame that we're not probably not going to get to see a proper resolution to that plot line with Sin's father and Sarah. But Sin's really been on the back burner big time since season 2. So sometimes things just kind of have to go, and that's unfortunate. But I certainly wouldn't mind seeing Sin on the show again. That would be pretty cool. She and Roy are always sort of fun to have hanging out with each other. And if once Thea ends up taking kind of a more active role out there, her and Sin kind of continuing to become better friends, that would also be pretty cool because they do know each other and seem to have gotten along at least okay so far. But again, that's all just sort of going to depend on Bex Taylor's availability and if the writers feel like doing stuff with the character of Sin. But anyway, I have to say the coolest part of this episode was most definitely the end where we see Oliver, standing on top of the van, giving a speech to the people of Starling City and going like, "You did not fail this city." I mean, again, you have to think for that a moment. In the real world, if a vigilante tried to do this, the cops would be all over them. And it's kind of still pretty bizarre that the Starling City PD are still still so blatantly taking this like, yeah, we don't care what the vigilante does stance. I mean, again, you have to imagine what the people killed by Oliver in season 1 and season 2, all those criminals and their loved ones are thinking. But I guess it's more like, your loved one was a criminal and this city's better off without them. Go screw yourself. And well, let's face it, police departments have taken the go screw yourself stance to the citizens of this country more than once before. So, but again, I'm just sort of being a little bit of a jerk there. It's comic books. That's how it works. I've been in Gotham City. They have the damn bat signal on top of police headquarters, for God's sake. So, yeah. But that was really just an absolutely awesome moment. I loved that. Now, moments like that are why superhero comics are so much fun, as cheesy and over the top as they might be. And yeah, so with that, I'm going to call it here, guys. Again, great episode. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Who's Your Jedi. Till next time, take care and have a good one.